Hi there, it's Jen from modernmedicinelady.com and the Empathic Woman System. And the word of the day is rules. So I had an opportunity to do some work with a mentor of mine, and we were digging into some of that classic stuff, perfectionism and fear of judgment, and also some of the standards and the ideas of like what it means to be doing things the right way versus doing things the wrong way. And what came up for me was an awareness that I basically accepted and bought into a whole set of rules when I was really young about what it means to be virtuous, about what it means to be a good student, about what it means to be a good skilled professional, and the way that you go about doing that. And one of the rules that is attached to that is that practice makes perfect, and that work and effort is the only way to success. And part of me just really saw that as like the noble truth, the noble rule that as an artist and as somebody who was seeking to create things, that was a really important thing for me to agree to and accept and just really go for it. And and in many ways that agreement and that acceptance of that rule did serve me in the sense that I have put in countless hours of time into perfecting and honing many different crafts that I now have and skills that I know because I did put in the time and I did put in the effort. But at the same time that I was buying into this set of rules, there was another part of me, the artist within me, the creative soul within me, sort of the spiritual seeker within me, that knew that there is something even more powerful than following rules, and that is following joy, following delight, following my bliss, and tuning into the creative process and letting it guide me and allowing it to lead that process. And that one of the things that I realized about that is that one of the things about creativity, and I think this is true with life, is that it's just as important to recognize when something is complete as it is to know how to work on it and to be in the process of making it. And one of the problems with arbitrary rules about practice and about like you need to put in this amount of time every single day, thank you to a very strict piano teacher, I have that rule, but is that that can mean we can overdo it. That can mean we can overwork it, that we can overextend ourselves. And so in the way that like when somebody is exercising, there's a point where the body says enough and we need to honor that. As an artist, I've had that experience in painting and drawing and coloring where, especially when I was younger and I didn't necessarily know how to recognize when I would hit the point of enough, that I would overdo it and then basically ruin it. Or I don't know if you've ever worked with ceramics or pottery, but there's this thing about when you're throwing a pot that especially when you're learning how to do it, you can basically get it to a place where it's just beautiful and perfect. And then if you keep going, the whole thing basically just falls apart and just goes off center and just turns to a blob again. And what I realized is that the rules are helpful to start us on the path and to give us the discipline to be able to get the creative process going. They prime the pump. But the problem with holding on to the rules and keeping them as like the bottom line is that when it is time to be complete, when we have reached something and it is before we expect it to be done, we need to be able to honor it and recognize it for what it is. And part of that is about knowing when it is time to let the creative spark and to let our delight and our joy guide us, as opposed to having these extremely arbitrary rules tell us that this is the only way to do it. And what I realized for myself is that while I've always understood this part, the part about joy, at the same time that I've understood this, there's been a part of me that has felt conflicted because I've been breaking those rules. And as an adult, I can absolutely see that the rules were there as a framework, but they're also kind of arbitrary. They're not the only way to do things. But when you're 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, a lot of times it's very black and white. And so what I've been working with is just allowing that tension between the part of me that understands how to create something beautiful and the part of me that thinks if I'm not doing it by the rules or by the book, I'm somehow cheating, that maybe it's possible to just kind of let all of this go and just follow my bliss and following my joy and appreciate the fact that something can sometimes be created outside of the box and outside of the rule book. So my question to you right now is, are there things in your life where you kind of intuitively know how to do something, but there's a set of rules that you think you're supposed to be following? And do you find yourself up against the tension between what you know to be true versus what you were taught was the way it was supposed to be? And how's that tension between those two things, the set of rules and what you really know, how's that working for you? I can tell you it wasn't working super well for me, and right now a big piece of my work is about just really releasing all of that. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about all this. This is a really rich one, at least for me, and I'd love to read your comments and get a feel for where you're coming from with all of this. So please leave a comment below. And until next word of the day, I'm wishing you peace and ease and freedom from those arbitrary rules that are no longer serving you. And in the meantime, if you haven't already done it, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jennifer Moore, Modern Medicine Lady. So until we meet again, peace.